Hey everyone, today I'm joined by Chris Dreyer. Chris is the founder and CEO at rankings.io, where he leads a team of SEO specialists to help law firms and personal injury lawyers dominate first page rankings on Google. Chris is a powerhouse in the SEO game, and I was very excited to capture his insights. But when we started recording, we went even deeper than expected, getting into agency operations and event marketing. In this episode, we discuss why niching up is a necessary strategy, channels SEO-focused agencies should consider, the importance of data in decision-making, and more. Today's episode is brought to you by ZenPilot. There are lots of tools out there for agencies to manage projects, but any project issues aren't usually caused by the tool. They're from your own processes. ZenPilot helps agencies implement their project management tools while streamlining operations so your team can move from chaos to clarity. You can see for yourself at zenpilot.com/forward. And now my conversation with Chris Dreyer. It's easier than ever to start an agency, but it's only getting harder to stand out and keep it alive. Join me as we explore the strategies agencies are using today to secure a better tomorrow. This is Agency Forward. How much, from your perspective, has the SEO game changed?
Oh, geez. It changes every year. It's more competitive. Right now, it's a bloodbath. It is extremely competitive. There's a big consolidation occurring because when you put weight around things like number of reviews, it instantaneously benefits the largest players in the space. Mm-hmm. And I know it says, for example, when you're talking local local SEO, you're talking about relevance, distance, and prominence. When they're talking about prominence, when they get to review count and score, the count is always going to be influenced by volume. So there's benefits there. There's a lot of issues with helpful content. And I know a lot of people have been complaining about AI and the top of funnel being eaten up in all the forums and UGC stuff. But look, there's been rich snippets. Google's been taking our traffic for a while. Those are 0-click scenarios. And now it's just more of that. And to be honest, it's a cost. It's very cost prohibitive to continue to reward top of funnel content because a lot of that content already exists. So it makes it really challenging for Google to crawl the web. It's just energy and consumption. So we can dig into any of those, but that's the issue that's occurring right now.
Right. Yeah. And I've seen the information gain, I guess, being that critical piece for new content, especially with top of funnel.
Yeah.
And it's so apparent that companies are just missing out on that. Like let me just regurgitate what everybody else is doing. And hopefully that gets me on the top spot. It's like, no. But actually, let's just go a little deeper on that then. I think AI is probably causing a lot of agencies specifically to lean in more on the quantity side than the quality side by just saying, well, I can do more now. I can do this faster. And so essentially we're getting more, maybe not the highest quality content. Like, how are you addressing that within your own agency to make sure that's not the case?
Well, let's talk about that just in general. A lot of it has to do with the monetization structure for the agency. Most of them are doing cost plus. So if it's hours, that's one thing. But if you're doing units like number of articles or number of words, in order to enhance profitability on the short term, which will jeopardize your client, it's more of an agency benefit to do cost plus, is to use AI to generate it, for less costly. So it deals with the monetization structure. When you get to value-based fees and you're talking about, say, in the legal space, where we're talking about cases and revenue impact to the firm as opposed to, units, capacity, and output and things like that. It's a big problem. So that's where you see these content vendors, your text brokers. There's many in the legal space. They're all cost plus. So they're going to use AI to to generate content less cheaply. It's a race to the bottom for commoditization. So those are the issues. On the flip side, so several years ago, we outsourced a lot. And there's there's a lot of reasons for this, right? When you're talking about labor arbitrage, you're talking about a full-time employee is high effort. They take a lot of effort, culture, training. But you get high control. You can get them to do whatever you want. In the agency space, you got freelancers. That's medium effort, medium control, because you don't hire a freelancer that doesn't know the craft, but someone else can take their time. If you hire an Upwork person, someone else can just grab their utilization. And then you have at the bottom the vendors. That's low effort, low control. The effort, the control is because they know how to make the widget, but you can't tell them how to make the widget, right? So where I'm going with this on the AI in a long-winded way is saying, in the past I would outsource content, but I made a decision to bring it in-house because they wouldn't do some of the things I needed, specifically enhancing content and really researching and going deeper and providing value. So they're all structured for a commoditization, productization type of method, which is a problem. And that's why many of them are decreasing in revenue.
Yeah, something probably incredibly valuable in that insight of just bringing things in-house because no one else can do them. And like, what that right way is, where you are thinking more strategically than just the delivery of like an asset, right? You're not just, this isn't about the blog post. It's about the outcome of the blog post, or whatever that asset might be for an agency. I can appreciate that thinking.
Yeah, it comes down to core and context, right? That's why a lot of people say, don't outsource your main thing. It's because you can do it better. You don't have the option to outsource. So what's core for me is SEO. I think we're one of the best in the world at it. So for me to go to try to outsource that, it's it's not going to be as good. But there's some things that are context, like payroll and HR and stuff like that. Now we do have an HR person that's amazing now, but in the past that was context. So we would outsource that because that company that provided HR, it was core to them. So we're getting their core capability.
Right. Until you're getting the best from everyone. I think something else that does when you outsource any of your main offers is that it dilutes your story, right? You can't actually go to someone and say, we are the best in the world at this, because they'll just look at whoever you outsource and be like, well, those guys are the ones doing the work. So, like, you have to make it part of your business. So in researching for this episode, I found a story from you about your biggest hiring mistake. And I guess it was overhiring. I might spoil the surprise for everybody. But then that forced you into having to jump into other work within the business to be able to ensure you're, set up, your structure, all the right moves moving forward from that. Since we're focused here on the future of agencies, I guess, what lessons did you learn from that? That would be a valuable takeaway for everybody.
Good question. The bigger you get, the more important data is to make decisions. In the beginning, when you're an agency of 7, you've got everybody at one meeting and you understand what everybody's working on and what their capacity is, and you're meeting with them frequently. And there are things like time tracking that people are just opposed to. Like, I'm not going to time track. I'm not going to whatever. But like, okay, if you don't do that, then you can't accurately measure utilization and forecast capacity. So it comes down to really being more data oriented. So every single employee at our company, every single one, has KPIs that we measure on a weekly basis. Some of those are based upon capacity, others based upon quality, and each individual role has their own KPIs that we measure. And it's also our employees will record them, and then the manager will then rate them. So this is what they think they're doing, but this is what the manager thinks. So there's not this disconnect, right? It's, oh, I'm crushing it. Well, I don't know. You're not really, because these other employees are doing this. So, things like time tracking, there's a couple tools. A lot of people talk about the common ones like Harvest and things like that. But there's one that I like called MemTime. It automatically time tracks everything. So it's not a terrible burden. You can get a summary, and it helps you make decisions. That's the biggest thing. Is in the past, I wasn't using data enough to make decisions around capacity, and now we are.
So I'm a fan of time tracking. So you get that data, But I guess one of the pushbacks that I hear a lot within agency teams is that they feel like they're being micromanaged.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get around that? Or how
Well,
did you?
I tell them, yes, you are being micromanaged. You're working for me. You know, you want to be on the boat or not, right? So I have a more, my culture is different. I'll just be real. We are very competitive. We're an EOS traction based agency. We don't have a leadership L10. We have a war room L10. Our core values are not team players, smack you on the ass style. It's foxhole mentality. Like, I don't care if you don't like the person, but you're in the foxhole with them. I don't care. Like, do your work, have their back, and true grit, right? And play to win, send and delete. Like, if I send you a task, if I give you a task, I don't need to follow up. It's done. That's your responsibility. So it comes from the culture. Like, people can have the rah stuff, but when it comes to SEO, it's war. It's the epitome of war. We're pushing for territory. Every client that we're pushing to get number one or number two is taking more global territory. And that's how we treat it. Like, we have these little battles. And so I kind of went on a little rant there, but I think that the statement, like, if someone said that to me, it wouldn't fly, just because of our culture.
Well, then having such a strong culture and like clearly outlined, I guess it also makes it probably easier on the hiring side, like to know who is a good fit and helping them like kind of disqualify themselves. Right.
Oh yeah. We don't, there's no playing the game because it's fun. We play to win because winning is fun.
Going back to the KPIs that you have the team set, how much is that like a kind of mutual conversation where we're saying, hey, this is, what do you want to own? Where can we get the most from you? Or is it more of a, hey, we need someone to own this, like you're up because this is your position?
A lot of it starts from the top, the leaders. Our leaders' job is to lead by example, to really understand. Our directors are really reinforcing the strategy and owning their department. Our managers are then quality control and processes and things like that. So it starts from those directors, and it may be, for example, like our on-page specialists, like one KPI would be number of articles published. And because that's a core component of their job, another, account managers could deal with NPS or response time, and just it's really specific to each role.
Mm-hmm. I want to shift into talking about niching up.
Sure.
Because I'm a firm believer in this strategy. I think you are as well, given the book that you've wrote on it. I guess, how do you explain the concept to people who believe that generalized offers are the only way?
Really good question. I'm trying to think how
Yeah.
how stern I want to be here. Most people are bootstrapped. Most people aren't taking on debt for capital or have a lot of capital to influence marketing decisions. If that is the case, niching is a great way to maximize your capital. When we are CEOs, we are playing the game of capital allocation. To go after a super large TAM requires a tremendous amount of capital. So what most people don't think about when it comes to niching is it's maximizing profit in your capital allocation, because just little things, perception. Like, even though if I say that I'm in legal, I may have never had a lawyer client, but there's a perception that you understand legal, right? Every brain surgeon has their first brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a perception of expertise that's going to help you on your win rate. You're going to speak the same language. You're going to aim your marketing dollars in the most efficient way. And the downside is very real, the small TAM. But you can't attack a large TAM until you have a lot more capital or something truly unique, which most of us, as much as we want to talk about these blue ocean scenarios, it's most individuals are not attacking a true blue ocean.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the challenges with the large TAM is that there's also a lot more competitors in the space that you're fighting over.
Yeah, and many of them are niched.
Right. And so if you can find that smaller niche where, maybe there's only one or two other competitors, like, it's easier to kind of bump elbows when you're not going against a horde of of others.
Yeah, I see this arc, in my opinion, that's optimal. Is you start off as a generalist and try to do everything, and try to identify where your strengths are and where there's opportunity. Legal, there's many people that have done that, so you could say that. But like, let's say you had some in manufacturing, some in funeral homes, so and so. But you find your opportunity, then you niche into it to maximize that opportunity. But after you start to generate revenue, then you want to spread back out. So it's kind of this arc, that's all centered around capital allocation and targeting.
Right. How do you recommend like an agency would start with figuring out what niche they should actually target?
Yeah, if you've been in the game for a little bit, just look at your data. Start to segment your revenue. So by category, we did the same. We were 100% legal. I started out of the gate like that, but I identified that a large subset of the revenue was from personal injury law. Extremely, like 70% of our revenue from less than 50% of our clientele. So it was a clear decision to really focus in. Created a personal injury podcast. We have a personal injury conference this year. We have 3 of our BDRs specifically to PI. All these different components of the marketing, where we're going to conferences, are the conferences where PI congregate. I have a book coming out later this year on personal injury marketing. So it's not saying no to every others, but it's really laser, focusing the laser on that group.
Right. Is it the conference like self-hosted? Like you're bringing this
Yeah.
together?
So it's called PIMCon. It's going to be in September. We have it's at the Phoenician in Scottsdale. It's going to be a big one. I know a lot of people like to dip their toe in the water and do these small events, and I decided to just go all in, and we've got a ton of money budgeted towards it, over a couple $1,000,000. We're going to have really elite people there. So
Mhm.
that was a decision that came after the podcast. The podcast generated the audience to have the ability to do the conference.
Right. I was talking with Marcus Sheridan a couple of weeks ago, and that was one of his big things looking at the future was that like in-person events are going to take off primarily because you don't know when things are online now. It's like we're coming in not able to trust it immediately. Like you almost have to be a skeptic because AI can create anything. So people are going to start wanting more of that human connection to actually build those relationships for business. And so I think that's running a conference like that is probably it's a huge endeavor, right? But also a potential huge win if you can nail it, because like you're going to be set. That's just ingrained you and your agency in everyone's heads as the ones who brought that together. So, I guess let's go a little deeper on that. Just like, what are some of the setting up a conference? It's like I said, like no small endeavor, right? Like, what are some of the things that I guess have surprised you with having to set up a large event that you might not have thought about beforehand?
Well, I'll tell you a lot here, and I'll tell you where I've went wrong too. I'll be really candid. So the hardest thing about a conference is selling tickets. Duh, Chris, no brainer. But it's like you have to incentivize and create urgency to sell tickets far out, because a lot of your costs for celebrities or talent or the event, it's not like, hey, you got an event 12 months from now. Let's just 12 payments. No, they're all going to come in in a February, a big percentage of them. So the cash flow is a little different. I got this from a mentor, a peer in my space that's done a lot of events. It's Michael Mogul. He's done some gigantic events, and we had a conversation like there's 3 main pillars. One is content, another is networking, and the third is fun. And you can have a conference that does all 3, or you can really emphasize one of those components. For us, we wanted to focus on content and networking, and we have the fun, but it's really emphasizing the content. We really want to teach and educate and be the thought leader there. So, things like, you know, so let's just start with each of those. Content. We're not having any breakout sessions. We're not doing any panels. We are selecting the speakers. We're not taking, investments from people to speak, the pay to play style. On the networking, it's gorgeous location, a lot of networking activities, right? Phoenician, And then on the fun side, we got David Spade as a comedian after day one. We've got dueling pianos. We've got a DJ. We've got a lot of different fun activities, some golfing stuff, some spa stuff. And so we're trying to hit all those components. We got a keynote, Michael Phelps. He's, the conference is called Good to Goat, personal injury marketing go from good to goat. Got the goat at the Olympics, Michael Phelps at the end. So all these different things. I will tell you, it is very, very difficult. It is a business of its own, selling tickets and getting, your vendors. The vendor stuff's easy. That's the easy game. Selling out your booths, it's the tickets and making sure you get the attendance to make it worthwhile. And there's a lot of ways you can go wrong there. It's like, okay, well, you can sell 10 tickets to one firm, but that's only one buyer unit. So you want to focus on buyer units in terms of the amount of people that you have in the crowd that can actually buy your services. Yeah, you get 100 people there, but if it's 10 people each firm, you got 10 people that can buy your stuff. And so that's one component. But where I went wrong on the first event, I think the event I'm doing now would have been like the second or third. I look at all the space, and all these conferences have panels and breakout sessions. Well, duh. Okay, so you take MTMP, a big one. They've got like 80 to 100 speakers. That's 80 to 100 people that are talking about the event on their social media. Hey, I'm speaking at this and this, right? So they have 80 evangelists, 80 influencers. Well, I've got like 12 to 14 people talking about my event. So guess where those tickets are coming? Me, like all on me, not the influencers and the natural networking, which is fine. It's more capital intensive.
It's fascinating. It's not an area of marketing that I've ever explored. And so it's just interesting. But I think you will likely see more, even probably agencies being created to assist with this specifically.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, as we get into it. So what do you kind of foresee as some of the biggest challenges for agencies in the future?
Big question.
Yeah, very loaded question.
Well, let's just say let's take the SEO side, right? A lot of agencies are selling SEO services, and you're going to have to consider diversifying into other channels because of how fragmented it's becoming. Look, back in the day, TV had all the audience on cable, and now it's like 30 different apps, right? And no one watches commercials, so that's fragmented. You take even Google. Now you got LSA and Google Ads and the organics. It's fragmented, and people are starting to use Chat GPT for their answers, or go to Bing. You take social media. Back in the day, it was Meta, and now it's TikTok and Instagram. And I know Meta is still, Facebook and Instagram. But I'm saying the different channels. It's they're where we're at right now. It's more fragmented than ever to get someone's attention. So the omni-channel, a lot of people talk about it. It's one channel isn't the gravy train that it used to be. It's there's diminishing returns at a certain point, right? So you're going to have to, I think many agencies are going to have to quit being stubborn and start to look at how they can provide value to their client base in other areas besides just SEO.
Yeah, it's an interesting perspective. Because even with SEO,
yeah,
right, like you hit a point where it's like we own the top spot on all of these, but that's all. Like we're getting a majority of the search.
Yeah,
like we can't.
Look at brand and how it influences search and click-through rates. Well, click-through rates is part of their search algorithm. I mean, there's a patent around click-through rates. Tony Robbins said, I might mess this up, but he said something like, "Don't fall in love with your product or service. Fall in love with helping your client." And it's so true. You fall in love with TV, look at it. It's dying unless you're hitting boomers. It's going to streaming. It's going to YouTube. And so you have to play the attention arbitrage game if you're a marketing agency.
Right. So for those who have kind of or embedded, I guess, or ingrained in that one thing, right? The agencies that have been doing SEO for years and now we're seeing those diminishing returns and need to start shifting, adding other options into their offer so that they can actually get the results that they're promising. Like, how do you even begin to start, planning where to go?
Well, it's going to sound really basic, but 99% of the listeners don't do it. It's ask their clients. If you have a podcast, it's also a good feedback loop. You bring on a heavy hitter in the space. Like, what's working for you? Where are you generating leads? Oh, you're this. And you start to hear it over and over. Like, I should probably do that.
Mm-hmm.
And once you rise to the top of that taxonomy, you can start to synthesize information and create. But it really starts with a consistent feedback loop.
Right. More reasons to start a podcast now than ever, and get publishing on social media and stuff for your own brand so that you can hear what people are saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So I want to move into 2 final questions for you. With the first being, what book, I'm going to caveat this with, besides your own, do you recommend every agency leader should read?
The Boutique by Greg Alexander's amazing. I'm going to give you one more because I can't just do one.
Sure.
I would say Ready, Fire, Aim by Michael Masterson. Incredible book.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. I have not heard of The Boutique. And so I'm hoping like people listening get value from hearing the book recommendations, but it's purely selfish. I'm just trying to find more stuff to add to my TBR list. Last question is, where can people learn more from you?
Yeah, you guys can check out my website. It's rankings.io. But if you want to connect with me personally, I'm most active on LinkedIn. So if you search for Chris Dreyer, and Dreyer's Dreyer, hit me up on LinkedIn and say hello.
Awesome. Chris, appreciate you joining.
Yeah, thanks so much, man.
That's the show, everyone. You can leave a rating and review, or you can do something that benefits you. Click the link in the show notes to subscribe to Agency Forward on Substack. You'll get weekly content, resources, and links from around the internet to help you drive your agency forward.